Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Facilitate the Culture. So today, I just want to come to you guys because if you noticed before, I said if I ever misspeak, right, I'm gonna come back and correct myself. I think that's what the world is lacking today, is accountability, and just coming back and having time for correction, right? So today I want to talk about, some things I want to correct myself as I gather new information about, certain situations in the NCAA space. So I want to come back, correct myself, and then, I want to reintroduce myself to some of those who don't know who I am. Because some of you guys have sent me messages on Instagram, asking questions, following, etc. Right? So I did this previously on my old page, but I'm going to come on this page and give you guys a thorough introduction of who I am. All right? So first things first. This shouldn't be too long. So bear with me. First things first. The correction. What I can understand today is that basketball, college basketball, collegiate basketball, sports in general, is becoming a business. So I don't want to judge players too harshly on the decisions that they make, understanding that this is a business, right? What this means is, just like the NBA, some players are traded, right? All we can think about as the NCAA is free agency. We can't think about being traded, right? Some people are, not getting the money that they... Some people's value is depreciating on a yearly, right? So they might not get the same amount of money that they were getting the first year, because people have to understand, this is what I tell kids, all right? This is what I told them before all of this, right? When I played, is that this is a job. You might not be getting it hourly. You might not be getting, you might be getting a little stipend or whatever. But you are getting everything paid for if you're on a full ride, right? You got your housing, you got your food, you got your school, and then depending on what level you are, you will get a stipend. All right, so you're getting, even though you're not getting compensated that, you're not taking home that value, that money, that 40,000, that 50,000, that 100,000, that 300,000, you will be getting a full ride scholarship. So because you will be getting that, that means that if you don't perform, if you underperform, that some of them, they're not going to give you the same amount of money that they would have given you, that they gave you that first year, that second year, right? If your value starts to depreciate, if you start to underperform, right? So let's think of that like trade. You've been traded, right? Even though you're still a free agent, you're deciding I'm going to go play over here. Let's think about it like that. Now, as far as like the free agent, like I'm doing my thing. I'm just getting out of here. All right? That's how we have to think about it. Like on NBA terms, in free agency. You negotiate that deal. If they can't meet that deal, then you are obligated or free to take off, to do what you would please with, whatever information that you've received. So for those of you who don't know how this works, collegiate sports, at the end of your season, you and your coaches have a meeting, right? So at that end of your season meeting, right, that exit meeting, what they would call it, during the exit meeting, your coach will tell you things like, you did really good this year. Next year, we're looking for you to step into a bigger role. We want you to be the captain of the team. We want you to do this. We want you to do that. We want you to do this. We want you to do that. Or you can go in and your coach says, I don't think that you performed to your best abilities, but we're not going to take any money away from you. I don't want you to think that, but what we do need to see from you is this, this, and this. We think that you have a potential and you're holding back. You're not, your ceiling is high. You're not reaching your maximum potential. A good coach is going to tell you, I don't know why that is, and then you're going to get into your sports psychology of it. All right, I don't want to get into all of that. If y'all want me to get into all of that, We can get into all of that. Just leave a comment. Let me know. We'll get into that. Then you have, your players where they just underperform. You underperform. Next year we have this person coming in. And to be honest with you, I have to be honest with you. They're going to take some of your minutes. And we're not going to be able to give you the same amount of money that we gave you this year. Now, those are the people who have to make that decision. So that's back when I play, right? So now let's fast forward, all right? Same conversations are happening. But now you're talking about big money being on the line. You're talking about 6 figures being on the line. That's unheard of. I'm telling you, who's getting stipends? Here's $2,000 a semester. Here's $5,000 a semester, right? These players are getting paid. Right? So in the previous conversation, you heard me talk about how these players are getting paid, right? $40,000, right? But you got to think. So this is why I have to correct myself, right? We always talk about go where you're celebrated. Go where you appreciate it, right? Nobody's going to stay on a job and get paid minimum wage for 17 years. Some people do, right? But then you look at them and say, you could have went over here. They was offering you such and such. Why you didn't take that job? Because you was too loyal. So sometimes you can be too loyal, right? So, with that being said, I got to change what I set up. Because once I'm, in these conversations with people that are experiencing these things, executives, etc., who, managers, who's behind the scenes, in the scenes and behind the scenes. I'm talking to these people, and now I understand how much these kids are getting paid. Right? And these are things, this is why I have to correct myself, because these are things that you have to think about. If you're making 6 figures in college, but you're not going to be a professional basketball player, right? Some of these kids are probably not going to be a professional basketball player at the end of the day. Once their 4 years is done, they graduate, 5 years, whatever done, they graduate, they done. So things that I have to think about is, you got to set yourself up. At the end of the day, you have to think about yourself. You do. I can leave college with $2 million. I'm not going to the league. In the league, they're not even making what I'm making in college. In the league, they're not even making what I'm making in college. Which is crazy, right? I'm not going to the league, though. Right? You see people staying in college because they make the amount of money that they're making. There's no definitive answer that when you get to the to the WNBA, because we're just going to talk about women's basketball here. When you make it to the WNBA, you see these girls getting cut. You see them getting cut. So it's like Cheyenne Sellers, you see them getting cut, and y'all love her. Deja Kelly didn't even get drafted. Now, she done played, she done performed, right? Because certain players got that dog, but now you got to be consistent as well. Because there's not that many roster spots. I was just listening to Courtney Williams talk about 144, 12 teams, 144 players in the world to make it to the WNBA. That's not a lot of players, right? Now there's expansion, but still, we still only got 12 roster spots for you. So a lot of people getting cut. So when you go back to the collegiate level, you got to say, all right, am I staying? Because I'm making $350? Because I'm making $650? Yeah, I'll probably stay another year. Just in case when I get there, I get cut, I don't play, I'm making $75,000. But over here, I'm making $650,000. I got to set myself up for my future. Because it's inevitable. We don't know what's going to happen. You know, we don't know. We don't know. So what we got to do is we got to set ourselves up. So I cannot, going back and looking at it, when I see certain players leave, and I'm talking about the money, they're leaving for the money. My thing is, like I said, go where you're celebrated. If we have that exit meeting and you're saying, I only can offer you 75. But say you've been on the back end having a conversation with this coach and they said, if you come over here right now, Garrett, if you want to talk money, because I know you guys want to talk money, I can give you 250 right now. All right? And then you go back to your coach and you talk about like, okay, well, what's my cap? Like what can I make the next year or the next year? And they're like, it's probably gonna be 75 each year. I'm gonna be honest with you. We got to get players in. We got to get people out the portal. You have to make a business decision now. When you talk about professional, because now we're taking the fun out of it, right? We're taking we're here to get our free education. We're taking that out of it, right? And we're placing a business into it. And I'm not saying one is right, one is wrong. I'm not saying none of that, right? Because I think that people should be getting paid. I was eating top ramen, right? All I'm saying is when we look at it, we have to look at it from a professional level because now it's become a business, right? And in the NBA, WNBA, etc., people are going to make decisions for themselves and their families. Some players, if we talk NBA, these guys are making $250 million. So they can afford to say, I'm not tripping off the money. Right? Kevin Durant, I'm not tripping off the money. I'm going to go play with Golden State Warriors. I'm going to take a pay cut to go play here. I'm going to go take a pay cut to go play there. Right? Now, like I said before, my thing is so now I'm taking accountability for the money thing. I'm not going to judge players too harshly when it comes to I'm getting this bag. Because go where you're celebrated and appreciated. Right? Don't be the janitor when you don't got to be the janitor. You getting paid janitor wages when you can be getting paid queen wages. Right? Queen of the court when you could be getting paid those type of wages. Professional wages, right? The only problem I have, and I'll stand on this, is the rivalry. But then you have to even do the rivalry. You have to even kind of take that out of the picture, right? We're in a new generation of basketball. This is what I have come to terms with. I don't think if Jaylen Brown went to the Lakers, anybody would be making a big deal out of it. Would Kobe go play for the Celtics? Doubt it. After an established Laker? Doubt it. But if Jaylen Brown came to the Lakers, I don't see anybody saying, that's a rivalry, you can't go there. So those are things I have to think about as well because it's a business now. And because it's a business now, and you don't really see all this rivalry talk like how back when I played, I'm going to give y'all that. Even though I do still want to keep the culture. All right? I don't want to diminish the culture entirely. I do want to still have the culture. The competitiveness, the trash talk, the you're my op. I still want to keep that. Because that's what makes the game fun. I don't like to gossip, but you seen Olivia Miles and Hannah Hidalgo's interaction the other day. And we can all come to the conclusion that was not a, hey girl, what's up girl? That was not that type of conversation that was had. Right? It was all smoke. Or on one end, it was all smoke. That's what I want to see. So now when I see you on that court, it's going to be all smoke. So I think that, as far as that's concerned, like I said, with that being said, when I'm talking to people that are in the scenes, behind the scenes, etc., right? I'm behind the scenes, but I have literally separated myself from being all up in the mix. Right? But these are things that I need to know if I'm coming up here having these conversations with y'all. When they laid down to me, this is what the paperwork this is what the conversations look like with the coaches. This is what the paperwork looks like. Right? Then I can sit here and say, all right, let me go correct myself. Y'all should be getting paid. And I've always said y'all should be getting paid. And I will leave the if, what, whens, whatever's to y'all. Do what's best for you. At the end of the day, do what's best for you, your family, and what's going to set you. Because when it comes to the women, in particular, ain't no telling how successful you're going to be at that next level. So you do have to think about those things, those issues, right? Moving on. Introduction. I'm going to make this as brief as possible because I do got training to do. I'm Coach Bree. You can find my information. All right, Inspire Culture Basketball. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. All right. So I started playing basketball very, very young. Just like these kids today, I started playing basketball very, very young. I grew up in, several different areas. Ended up going to high school at Etowanda High School. They on the map right now, and we'll get into how they're on the map right now. So I went to Etowanda High School. Etowanda, we've been a powerhouse school for years, right? Years upon years before I even got to Etowanda. I always brought in the talent. Always, at least a ranked team in California, but honestly, probably a national ranked team at some level since I've been playing. When I played, the rules were a lot different. Everything was a lot different. I came from a coach he was a parent coach. If anybody knows me, they understand I am not a fan of parent coaches. Because there's always going to be some type of favoritism on the back end. If you're a parent right now, you understand. When you watch a game, you're talking about telling your kid, shoot, dribble, do this. So there's no way, unless you are a real professional, that you are able to separate that. There's no way. And as an adult now, I understand that there's no way that you're going to be able to separate that. So I do not like parent coaches. Unless the parent is an honest, accountable parent, which is not typical. All right? It's always, my kid didn't do anything wrong. Everybody else's kid. All right? The only parents that really, really, really keep it real sometimes are the ones that have played sports. So, I had a parent coach. He was very soft, very timid. We ran him. Let's just be honest, we ran him. People would quit. He would go run after them. There was no accountability. I'm like, can we run? Can we be conditioned? Because we're a great team. We should be winning championships. But we're not prepared. As going back to how bad of a coach he was. Senior year, we played this team, we beat them all the time. Beat this team every single year. This team never has beaten us, right? It was intense games every year, right? But they never could beat us. So this year, my senior year, they got two, Division I girls that can play basketball. And it comes to play them in the playoffs, semifinals, I think. And he don't want to, we not watching no film. We only watched film one time. My whole career. We watched film one time, maybe twice. But this guy, he didn't want to, we already played them. So he a little cocky too. But these is my homegirls. So I'm going to the games. I'm studying them. I know their tendencies. I know their habits. So I'm coming and I'm, you know, I'll write out we're not going to watch film, okay? So I type up a scouting report and hand it out to my teammates. Why is the coach not doing it? That's how bad the coach is. Like, people hear Edawanda and say, oh, y'all, this, and this. Oh, y'all been raw. We should have had a championship, but we didn't have a coach. Period. And the teams before me should have had the championship. Didn't have a coach. You talking about 6'1", 6'4", 6, like, real, like, squad, right? Not your typical high school girls. So, anywho, moving forward, I'm talking about 6'4", and I'm naming these heights because we know you can't buy height. And these are dominant players, Division I basketball players. Nobody gets a Division I scholarship. Nobody actually gets a scholarship at all. Why? So it's always been speculated. You know, parents have told me this. You know, everybody got letters, but he was hiding letters. So I played in a letter system. So I know I look like a young buck, as y'all would say. I look, oh, you look like, what grade are you in? No. Okay, I'm grown. So I played during the letter system. So you had to receive a letter. So your coach would they would mail you a letter. Your coach would distribute letters from schools. We was getting letters and he wasn't giving us our letters. So I didn't find this information out. Well, I found the information out by a parent. But me, I'm always like, parents can say anything. All right? But recently, I talked to a coach that also coached us during we had 3 parent coaches, right? We had him, he had 1 daughter. We had another coach who had 2 daughters. And then we had another coach who had a daughter. That's 4 daughters on a team. The one coach that I'm talking about right now, great coach though. She was very, what's the word I'm looking for? She was very honest. Let's just say she was very honest, honorable, right? She wasn't like my daughter. She knew that her daughter had to wait her turn, right? So recently she told me, you know, I thought that y'all, you know, like I said, we was a handful of kids. That's all I know. I don't think I was that bad because I wasn't, you know, I was all basketball, you know. And even though I did, like, internally, I did not, you know, internally I was not rocking with him, he would have never known that because I was a respectable kid. But she said, you know, I always thought y'all was some bad kids and all this and that. But, you know, one day he asked me to go into his office and get something. And then in his, I guess, mailbox, she seen a stack of letters from everybody. And this is probably after I graduated. All right? From everybody. And we had a parent that had us play in a tournament that we ended up getting offers. I got an offer to Alaska. And I was not going to Alaska. I'm just going to be honest with you. So most of us ended up in JUCO, and then we ended up playing at the next level. So my point is, when I played, the rules were a lot different. Things were a lot different. And once I got to college, lastly, I ended up being the MVP of the school. Right, I was one of those kids, and that was good for me because I was overlooked. Because, like I said, you got 4 daughters on the team. You got 2 who really, the other 2 were underclassmen. Then you got 2 that you really got to compete with. So I'm coming off the bench, 6 man. I'm cool with coming off the bench. Like I said in the last episode, I got to run my show. I got a McDonald's All-American candidate. I got this player. This player. We kind of play like the same type of positions, right? When I get in the game, I change the energy of the game. I change the tempo of the game. And this is my unit. Like I said, it's times that we all play together. Damn. That's my butters too. So, Inspire Culture, Shea Butters. Alright, on sale soon with the Inspire Culture necklaces, It's all inspired culture, baby. Let's go. Anywho, so I get to change the tempo of the game. This is my unit. I get to rock out. Right? At the end of the game, yes, I'm playing with my starting core. But then when we talk about some of the game, I'm playing with the young bucks, right? The youngins, the underclassmen. So I get to tell them, hey, boom, 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 boom. I'm the floor general at this point. And I'm not even the point guard. Anywho, fast forward. Going to college. Tear my ACL. In the summer, going into my freshman year. Mind you, I'm athletic. When I say athletic, I'm talking about if you can dunk, I will get the newspaper up here. Athletic. All right, at 5'9", 5'9.5", 5'10", with shoes. That's my athleticism. All right. And while we're here, I'll attribute that to, you probably can't see because I think there's a glare. This is my biological father, who was in the NBA for a couple seasons and played basketball his whole career. Right? Never had the opportunity to meet him, and that's a conversation for the book that eventually probably will be written. Right? But 6'6", 6'7". My mother played basketball. Right? Both of my parents, I come from basketball stock. Right? So, both played at the Division I level, both played professional level basketball. So, athleticism is in my genes. Tore my ACL, right? So then when I hear about those letters that we received that we never got, I think back and say, had we received those letters, had we went off to the colleges we're supposed to, do I tear my ACL in the summer? Probably not. If I had a coach that's a mentor who cared about his program and his kids, do we end up at the levels that we end up? And everything, if you're a serious basketball coach, is a reflection of you. You want players to go Division I. That's a reflection of your coaching or your recruiting or whatever, right? But he's just there for his daughter. He stops coaching after the daughters leave. So he's not even serious about coaching. So and we'll get into the mentorship, not in this conversation, but later, if you guys want, leave a comment. If you want to hear about picking programs and asking questions and interviewing your coaches and your trainers and etc. So, anywho, go to college, first JUCO, and I'm a transfer kid. So I understand when I'm giving all this gripe and stuff about transferring, I understand. But you have to see the reasoning. Like some of y'all are just leaving because you want to take the easy way out. And I see that. So I have to address that. But I am a kid that transferred. Right? First school. Same coach as the high school coach. They didn't want to condition, let the kids run over. I don't want to play with you. I'm trying to win. I should have won in high school. I'm trying to win. So I'm going to go. Where the winners are. That's me. All right? So then I go to SAC. Championship after championship after championship. Right? Most decorated junior college in California at least. All right? And at this point of basketball, it's not like the transfer portal situation, right? Where you just go transfer portal if you're Division I, right? They used to go Division I back to JUCO if they didn't want to stay at that junior college. So we have people that played for Kim Oki at Baylor coming. USC, UCLA, we had all type of players. Nebraska, all type of players coming back to play with us, right? So I played there. We didn't end up winning a championship. I learned probably the most about basketball. That wasn't the system for me, though. So that's another thing. I stayed there, right? I graduated from there. But that wasn't the system for me. So later on, when we talk about systems, leave a comment. You want to talk about picking schools. Like I said, leave a comment. because picking a system that fits you is important. And I said that previously, right? And these are things that today you have all type of mentorship. When I played, there wasn't no mentorship. There wasn't no YouTube, there was Instagram at some point, but it wasn't like it is today. It wasn't as advanced as it is today, where you can go on there and coaches are literally telling you how to choose, what to look for, what not to look for, right? It wasn't this. So I didn't have that. I didn't have him to be like, this is what you should do. And the crazy thing is, me and my brother went to school together. Didn't even know that was my brother. But, like I said, we're not here to talk about that today. Anywho, moving forward. Ended up going to Dixie University, Utah Tech. Ended up going to Utah Tech University. Where the first day there, my coach said, "What's up, you little Mount Sac hoodlums?" Hoodlum. I went to Etowanda High School, which is in Rancho Cucamonga. What are you talking about, hoodlum? My teammate went to Windward, which is a private school. It's like being in Claremont. What are you talking about, hoodlums? Have we probably lived in the hood once or twice in our lives? Maybe. But you, as a Caucasian woman from Idaho, shouldn't be calling anybody black a hoodlum. That's not how you break a barrier. So now I'm already on guard with you. And I'm educated. I'm educated on my people. Right? I grew up on my people. Alright? Ancestrally. So my experience there, and other teammates were making, racial remarks, and it was just not a good experience. It was in Utah. It was just not a good experience. It was not a good experience. It was not a good fit for me. Could I have sucked it up and continue? Probably, but why? Why should you? Why should you have to? When your coach is telling you you're not going hard enough, and then you have to pull out a paper and write your stats down during practice to tell your coach, am I not playing hard enough? When you have a conversation with your coach, what's my minutes? Why is my minutes looking like this? And then she says, you're not going hard enough. And then when you start writing your stats, then she starts playing you. Why do I have to go through all of this? Anywho, so my last year I played at the HBCU in Alabama. Couple games in, end up tearing my ACL again. My second ACL, right? So, I done been through as a player, I done been through it all. So I understand. So when I come on here and I've been through it all. So I have to give it to you as somebody who's been through it all, looking back, having about to have an All-American season, and then tear my ACL. Then went through the coaching situations, then went through the transfer situations, then went through all of that. Learning a new system situations, doing all of that. So when I come here, it's like when your parents make mistakes, when in their lifetime, and then they come and they're adults and then they're trying to teach and you're trying to teach. Even some of y'all are parents, and y'all are just stand out. You just, when you hear something about a player that you like so much, you get mad at the person that's delivering the information. Like, you're not a parent that hasn't gone through situations, and you tell your kids. So think of me as that. Think of, some of us, I don't know. The thing is, I don't go and listen to all these critics. I'm not listening to them. So I don't know if you're listening to critics and then you get to my page and you're like, you're just a critic. No, I'm a person who's went through this. Who's gone through this. Who's trying to help. It's called facilitate the culture. Facilitate the culture, because I'm trying to help the next generation, right? And some things I have to learn too, that this is becoming a business. So let me correct myself, right? So, anywho, moving into my coaching career. Gotta make this fast because this wasn't supposed to be this long. 5 minutes in? Okay, hopefully we're only about 30 minutes in because I don't want this to be too long. Anyhow, moving on to my coaching career. Coached at, started at my first school. Kids who never, oh my gosh, terrible. Never played basketball before. By the time I left, all those kids took You want your kids to take away some values, some life principles, right? Some ethics, morality, humanity. Right? You want them to learn the game, be disciplined. If basketball and sports don't teach you nothing, they teach you discipline. They teach you how to work with others. They teach you leadership skills. So each and every player that I had to coach, right? I told them, I don't want you going home doing whatever. I want you to go home, yes mom, yes dad. And just do what you got to do. Get to it. Listen. Be disciplined. Be an honorable person. All right? That's how you thrive in this world. Those kids ended up being great kids. Like I said, when they came in, dang, the heck is y'all doing? By the time they left, their skill level got better. We talking about changing programs around. I have a passion about this. I love the game. Oh, after I played, I ended up playing to how I ended up training. I ended up playing for the semi-pro situation. Ended up, training in the gym. And one of the coaches that I was coaching with wanted me to start training kids so that we can basically recruit kids. The kids start coming in by the bunches. I started, my training situation. That's how I became a trainer. And been doing it for years now. Right? After I left there, I went to Etiwanda High School, my alma mater. First couple years, always a great school. Always going to championships, always going to semis, always in the highest divisions of basketball. But I wanted to win a championship. In my mind, not the back of my mind, in the front of my mind, I've always said, I want to win a championship. Always. This has always been at the front of my mind. This has always been at the front of my mind. Alright? So, while I'm at other schools, I'm always thinking about my alma mater. I'm always going to put my alma mater on. So when I see players that look like they can fit in the system, you need to go up on over there. Right? It worked for some people. It didn't work for others. So when I got there, I've seen the culture. I've seen certain things that I wouldn't approve of. Kids being on the phone during water breaks and, you can't stay away from your phone for 2 hours? Nah, we can't win a championship like that. You're not even locked in at practice. Who is bothering you at practice? You might be having a boyfriend issue, a girlfriend issue. Now you're going to your phone with your boyfriend, girlfriend issue during the workouts? Oh no, absolutely not. No phones. Alright, so I was there a few years. Ended up bringing the most decorated player in California history, winning a championship all 4 of her years. Yes, indeed. So when people on my comments, don't come to my comments. All right? We talking about McDonald's All-Americans. All-State. State MVP, Player of the Year. We talking about Gatorade Players of the Year. We done coach. We talking about beating Juju Watkins. The only people that could beat Juju Watkins. Right? Y'all faves, Jada Williams. We talking about an undefeated season up until state playoffs. Well, we beat Juju for CIF and then they came back and beat us. Right? We talking about hostile environments. We talking about coming down from 20 playing La Jolla Country Day with Brea Cunningham and Jada Williams. And beating them. That's what we talking about. We talking about national #1 team. We talking about the team that won a national championship. That's the team we talking about. But we talking about my recruit, Aliana Puff Morris. Most decorated player in high school. Shout out to her. Shout out to her in changing the program. Shout out to Kennedy Smith. Shout out to Destiny Agubata. Shout out to Deja Mitchell. Shout out to all of them girls. Shout out to Grace Knox. Right? Who I didn't coach, but arguably some of these players don't come there if we don't end up being the program that we are. So shout out to all them kids. Because at the end of the day, you're not going to hear me up here talking about these kids and talking about this and that and making, whatever. Or not, I'm not going to say not talking about them. I'm going to talk about them. I'm not going to talk about them every time. I'm going to talk about them because they deserve their flowers. Because we don't get it done if they don't get it done. I'm telling you, we was down multiple games. Nike Nationals, right? Nike Tournament of the Champions. Down. Tournament of the Champions. Champions. Down. Multiple games. 15, 20 with a freshman point guard. Coming back winning games. Winning the first championship in history at the school. So, I think I do have enough credentials to come up here and have certain conversations. And you don't know me, but I don't sit here and have these conversations. Like when all these people and, when I leave and, they're still winning championships, I'm not sitting back and say, yep, I did that. No, because they did that. Right? But I accomplished my goals to win a championship. And I want to win more. But right now, the reason why, let me see what time it is. The reason why right now it's hard for me to get back into the coaching is because of, one, the parents. You guys are delusional. The ultimate delusion. My kid does nothing wrong. My kid is a saint. My kid would never. How some of your kids become, some kids be doing some crazy stuff. And the parents are like, my kid would never do that. Well, we have your kid on camera doing that. Stop being delusional. You were a kid, and I'm sure you was doing stuff that was like, your parents would not have approved of. So let's be honest. Then we have the delusional kids who just bad. These kids, like I said, you want to get on the phone during workouts? Heck no. The coach can't tell you nothing. Now y'all want to go to the district and talk to people because the coach yelled at you guys? I see what's going on. See, I got up out of there before all of that. But I see what's going on. And you think I want to hop back into that? I even seen at the professional level. I do. I like coaching boys, but I even see it with the boys. I do. But at least you can get on the boys. You can't get on the girls like you can get on the boys. You can't coach girls like you can coach boys. And coaches used to be able to coach me tough. I want you to coach me tough because that means you care. I got kids after I coach them tough and they get all the awards at the banquet talking about, I thought you didn't like me, coach. Why would I not like you? Because I'm coaching you? You're actually one of my favorite kids, but you do not play to your abilities. That's why I'm on you. The whole time you think I'm a bully, but I want you to do your best, and you're not giving me your best. Coaches are being called bullies for coaching kids. Imagine going and playing for Kim Mulkey. Do you see Kim Mulkey? Then y'all say y'all want it that bad. Y'all don't want it that bad. Because some of y'all going to go over there with Kim Mulkey and be looking crazy. Some of y'all going to go over there with Gino and y'all going to be looking crazy. Because y'all don't want to be coached. And some of y'all parents don't want your kids to be coached. So, that's for my coaching experience. For my training experience, great. I get to, this is what I say, facilitate the culture. I get to mold my players into some dogs. So I tell them, don't nobody care about none of that. They come into my workouts crying. When they first start crying because they can't get the layups right, they can't get the footwork right. And you know what I tell them? I look at them in their face and I say, nobody cares. Nobody. You think when you're out there playing against your opponent and you're showing on your face all of this, you think that they're going to care? Or do you think they're going to say, dog, lunch, meat, dog food? They're going to look at you like dog food. They're going to eat you up if you show all them emotions. So as far as training, this is my passion right now because, like I said, I get to mold the dog. I got some players. Most of my players are young. I'm telling you right now. I don't have a whole bunch of high school kids. I got a whole bunch of youngins. That's dogs right now. Right now. Footwork, elite, professional footwork. And there's things that I look at. I'm not going to give all my training tips, but there's things that I look at as a trainer that I know other trainers are not looking at. They don't have the eye for it. They don't have the passion for it. It's a lot of trainers out here. Like it's a 7-Eleven on the corner right there, a Walmart on the corner right there, another 7-Eleven on the corner right there. So that's what the training like. That's what the AAU is. They're on every corner. Right? But that doesn't, they don't have the quality. I ain't Walmart. I'm not 7-Eleven. Right? I'm the Equinox gym of this mug. Yeah, we're going to come over here. We're going to get this elite work. And that's my passion. And I don't compete with nobody. I compete with the last version of myself. And I give credit to where credit is due. There's some great trainers out here too. Some great trainers. You know? One of them is my mentor, Olin Simplest. Great trainer. We have the same philosophies, the same techniques. And I do got to get back with my guy. It's been a while. But even with him, I've been able to train or be in, rooms and help train and facilitate NBA players. And as you see, some of his players are Rookie of the Year, Defense, Rookie of the Year, Steph Castle, Defensive Player of the Year, Evan Mobley, and then Gilgeous may win MVP. So he's having his best year. Then you got Julius Strawther from Denver. Right? It's just a whole bunch of, I could just name a whole bunch of players, right? But, being in gyms with these players, coaching them, having interaction with them. And those players, let me tell you, last thing, promise. This is the difference. You get in the gym with an NBA player, they're doing this. What you want, coach? You talking about vets in the NBA. Right? What you want, coach? What you want me to do? You talking about Spencer Dinwiddie. You talking about Karis LeVert. You talking about, JaVale McGee, whoever. What you want, coach? What you got? What you got for me? You want 50? You want 20? What you want? They doing the most basic stuff sometimes. Shooting over the backboard. 20 makes. All nets. They not sitting up there like some of y'all kids, some of y'all parents. I don't want my kid doing that. What is that supposed to do? They doing that and then they're going to the league and being some of the most decorated players in the league. Signing supermax contracts. But you guys don't want your kids to do the work. You want to skip steps. You want to get out there and... That's not even a system. What system is that? That's the only system that you can do that in is NBA. If you're Shea, if you're James Harden. But they had to play at the collegiate level. Most of them. Right? James, Arizona. Right? And they had to work in the system before they can do that. So, stop sipping from the cup of delusion and start sipping from the cup of reality. Alright, so as a trainer, I love it. My kids is great. They're doing good. And, you know, we're just going to keep rising. So that's, you know, I think that's all I have to say here today. Thanks for listening. We've been here for too long already. Anyways, facilitate the culture. We live. We direct. And we will see you next time. Leave, like, comment, subscribe, leave whatever. Whatever you want to hear about, leave it in the comments. I'll come back. I'll come holler at you. All right. Peace.